Thank you. So it's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you Hana Meshesha. I was first introduced to Hana when I took the class at Mali on Ethiopia. And there were three instructors to make kind of a sports analogy. Two of them called the game and Hana was color commentator. And one of the days she did it all, and that was the day I had to miss. So I'm looking forward today to fill in that gap for what I missed that day from that class. Hana is currently a PhD candidate in counseling at the University of Montana. She's lived in Missoula for 3 years while completing her second master's degree in counselor education. She's been a faculty member of the University of Gondar in Ethiopia since 2007. She has a graduate degree from Addis Ababa University in special needs education, and she has hands-on experience in counseling, advocacy, and administration. So, Hana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, May. It's such a pleasure to be with you all this morning. And my plan is to just give you a snapshot of what Ethiopia means to me. I will talk about some history. I will talk about just some aspects of what the culture represents. I will talk about what specific cultural heritage and natural resources we have. And I know that some of you have heard about Ethiopia, some of you have read about Ethiopia before. So I'm really hoping that you will have questions for me and I will be able to explain after the presentation. So now I'm gonna share my screen with you. All right, so I chose the title, The Cradle of Humanity, because some of you might be familiar with Lucy. This is the first hominid fossil that was found in Ethiopia. And this is considered as the first full combination of human structure that we know of so far. And we take so much pride in having that resource, that history in Ethiopia, and Ethiopia identifies as the cradle of humanity for a long time. So just geographically, Ethiopia is located in the east part of Africa. We are bordered by Sudan, both North Sudan and South Sudan. In the south, we are in border with Kenya and Somalia. And in the east, there's Djibouti, and the northern part of Ethiopia is Eritrea. Some of you have heard about Eritrean refugees here in Missoula. So Eritrea used to be part of Ethiopia just about 30 years ago. And because of the political conflicts that has happened and because of the major war that we were engaged, Eritrea got its independence through referendum, and now it's independent country. So the northern part of Ethiopia is Eritrea. So I could say like 3 decades ago, Ethiopia used to have a coast, and now we don't have that capacity. Just for a comparison, Ethiopia is almost twice the size of Texas and almost 3 times bigger than Montana. And I will talk about the population, but the population is more than 100 million. So if you just walk around any place in Ethiopia, you will see hundreds of people all the time. And it's so much connected. Touching and seeing so many people around you is so much common in Ethiopia. This picture that you see is the political map that we use, which I will talk about later also, but to just give you an idea that the political system that we organize ourselves is a bit different because we use federalism, but the specific category of federalism we use is ethnic federalism. So we have about 80 plus ethnic groups in Ethiopia, and each ethnic group is considered as independent of its own. So we say nation of peoples and nationalities. And the location, the geographical location administration is primarily based on language and how people attribute their language to be associated with the people around them. So this map that you see in the northern part, usually it's the Amhara people. They speak Amharic, which is my first language. If you go to the very north in the border to Eritrea, you will see the Tigrayans. This is a language that's shared by the Eritreans. So anyone who comes from the northern part of Ethiopia can easily communicate with the Eritreans. But for example, I can't because I don't speak Tigrayna. So it's so common to see Ethiopians speaking one language or two language, but it's so hard to speak multiple languages because it's a very diverse country. So we are so used to being able to communicate with minimal vocabulary or minimal language or facial communication whenever we communicate with Ethiopians who come from other parts of the country. For example, in the southeast part of the country, it's the Somali ethnic group, and they speak Somali, and they have a language similarity in the Somali people within the Somalia country compared to the Ethiopians who live in the Ethiopian country, in Ethiopia. So that's how diverse it is. In the middle of the country, you see Addis Ababa. So that's the diplomatic country that every embassy, every consulate office is located in Addis Ababa, including the African Union Center. So politically, economically, in governance also, Addis Ababa is a center for Ethiopia. So going back to Lucy, some of you might remember Lucy has visited United States as exhibit. And this fossil is located in our National Museum in Addis also. Her local name is Dinkenesh. This is a name, if I translate it in English, it would be like you are a surprise or you are an amusement for us. And that's the name that's given to Lucy. It's about 3.2 million old fossil. However, there are recent findings that are even older than Lucy. It's not a complete fossil. So, so far, Lucy takes most of the historical privilege in explaining human nature and where human beings come from. One of the things about Ethiopian culture and history is we have an alphabet, and this is specifically belonging to the Amharic language, the language I speak. So this is the alphabet that you see. It has 33 consonants, and we have 6 ways of pronouncing one consonant. So the vowels are, I would say 6, but there are 7 ways of writing them, as you can see on your screen. So basically, whenever we write something, we don't use vowels like English. It just every word in every statement is represented by the spelling, by the consonant itself, because we have just some extensions whenever we write. But this is how it looks like. This is a good representation alongside with the English way of writing it. Our language in the northern part of Ethiopia usually comes from the Semitic language, and Semitic language comes from the Arabian region. So there are so many commonalities with the Arabian countries. And if you go to the south part of the country, there is a Cushitic language category. So most of the language comes from the southern part of Africa. So there's pretty a different way of pronunciation and different way of different language. So basically we don't have, like I may come from the north and somebody may come from the south, and literally we will not have anything to speak to each other unless we know the federal language, and that federal language is Amharic. The other one is Ethiopian calendar. So James might speak to this because we had a little bit of confusion when we were scheduling this event. My mind is still on Ethiopian calendar, even though I lived in the US for 3 years. We have 13 months in the year, and every month is 30 days. And some of you might be wondering, what did you do with the 5 or 6 days depending on the leap year? So what we did with the 5 days is we just have it as independent month, as a certain month. So that month comes before September. So we have 13 months. Every year starts with September and ends with May, which is the 13 months. So you might see like tourism announcements referring Ethiopia as 13 months of sunshine, because wherever you go to Ethiopia, there's always sunshine at some point in the country because of the diverse weather conditions, and also because of the 13 months that makes Ethiopia unique. Another component about our year is we are in 2013 right now. So we would like to say we are younger than the rest of the world. Basically, we use the Julian system of calendar, and when the Gregorian calendar got separated from the Julian calendar and they started a new calculation of the year, the Ethiopian calendar, basically the Orthodox Church calendar, remained in the Julian calendar, which made it 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar. So if you go to Ethiopia, people would refer the year as 2013 instead of 2020. Just some geographical backgrounds. We have fifth part of Africa's highest mountains in different parts of Ethiopia. The pictures that you're seeing on top of your screen is Samin Mountain, which is located in the northern west part of Ethiopia, in Gondar area, where I lived for about 10 years. And it's a beautiful area, as you can see, and it's one of the highest areas in the country. And if you just drive a few kilometers after this, you will find the Rash Dashen, which is the second highest mountain in Africa. And then if you see the pictures below, you will see the Danakil Depression, which is 123 meters below sea level. And that's where you find an active lava, and it's pretty hot. And this is where it's located in the east part of the country, northeast part of the country. And this is the hottest place that you can find in Ethiopia. So you will see, if you go to Ethiopia, you will see places where it gets so hot that people don't live on a regular basis. And also you will see places in Ethiopia where it gets to, the lowest in Ethiopia is like 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. So you'll get to those points. But the majority of Ethiopian temperature lies between like 60 degrees Fahrenheit at night and then 70 something during the day. So it's a pretty convenient temperature. Another thing about Ethiopia is we are the source of Blue Nile. We contribute up to 84% of the downstream water. And maybe it has come to your attention that lately there is a political rift between the downstream countries with Egypt, and that involved United States also. So this is really a huge political area for us right now. And the small picture that you see on the left side of your screen is a hydroelectric power dam that we are building. But we contribute the majority of the water that goes into the Blue Nile. I will not discuss all of this, but this is some of the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites that are registered. And you'll see like tangible cultural heritage and non-tangible cultural heritage. Most of the non-tangibles are celebrations. In Ethiopia, what makes it unique is every time there is a cultural or religious celebration, people go out in tens of thousands to celebrate that holiday. And that is considered as unique. It could be like religious. For example, we have the finding of the True Cross, which is recognized by UNESCO, and you will see thousands of people going out on the street to celebrate that. Or it could be the Fichit Malala, which is an ethnic celebration for a new year, and it's outside the federal government New Year, but it's ethnically celebrated. And everybody that belongs into the Sidama ethnic group celebrates that holiday. So we have different public celebrations, and that those are recognized by UNESCO as non-tangible resources. And the natural resources are also, some of them are registered by UNESCO. We have tangible natural resources. I know some of you attended a presentation on Lalibela and the virtual visit and their experience of visiting Lalibela. And that is one of the sacred places for Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia, and the sacred places for the country, especially in terms of tourism. So the picture that you see on top of your screen on the left side is the Beta Georgis, which is one of the churches at Lalibela. And that church is built from one rock. And Lalibela, we call him Saint Lalibela. He built 11 churches that have similar architectural value within the same lifetime. So you may be thinking, how is that possible? How is one person possible? Like, how can that one person do that? And the explanation from Ethiopians, especially from a spiritual point of view, is you will see people explaining that he had help from God and from the spirits. So that's how it's explained. If you go to any Ethiopian, they will tell you that, and then the scientific world might explain it differently. And then on the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Fasil Castle, which is in Gondar. This is built in the 1960s, and it's one of the oldest castles, and it's located in the center of Gondar city. It used to be one of the biggest palaces. It's located on the top of the city, so that it has the opportunity to just look out whatever is going on in the city. So they chose a strategic place to build this palace. And then the Aksum monument that you see here is, again, it's built from one rock. And the history about the Aksum monuments is when the Italians were in Ethiopia and were in fight for about 5 years, trying to conquer in Ethiopia and trying to colonize Ethiopia, they stole one of the monument and transported to Italy. And this monument has been in Italy for years, and it was returned a decade ago. And we have it back in Ethiopia now. So like, of course, there are, so many heritage that I can talk about in terms of what happened during those 5 years of duration. Something about religion in Ethiopia, almost up to 96 to 98% of Ethiopians identify with some sort of religious belief. And for most Ethiopians, religious belief and faith and spirituality are hand in hand. We don't usually separate the two. So if you have spirituality, it means you belong to some sort of religious group. For most people, that's the understanding. We have a very long history of religion, because the first experience of adopting religion was that religion itself was a government matter. So state religion was adopted early on, and that was transferred through generations. The first religion that we know of is in 580 BC. That's the Jewish religion. We call them Beta Israel. So we have the Ethiopian Jewish, and we still have them, especially in the northern part of Ethiopia. Some of them want to join their family and their people in Israel, and there have been some movements to go to Israel, and they already took, I think, significant number of people to Israel, and there are still some remaining in Ethiopia. And then after that, in the 4th century, Catholicism was the first religion in terms of Christianity to enter to Ethiopia. And the first King Izana, when he adopted Christianity, he adopted it as the throne religion. So he forced everyone in his leadership, including every person in the country, to be Catholic. So that was his order. And then in the 7th century, Islam was introduced. And the reason Islam was introduced is because in Saudi Arabia, Muhammad was having trouble with those who were going against him. And when he was getting attacked, he sent his daughter, his son-in-law, and some of the followers, 7 of them, to Ethiopia for protection. So the then king gave them a space in Ethiopia to just save themselves and live as long as they want to. And now we have a significant number of Muslim population in Ethiopia. So these are how our rabbis look like, the Beit Israel Ethiopian Jewish. These are some of the, some of the heritage that we have. This is this used to be used at some point by the kings and by the patriarchs. This is the King Izana that I just mentioned earlier. And as I said, Catholicism was the first religion to be introduced, and it was introduced by Syrian missionaries. Some of the pictures, as you can see, as I am showing you, you will see different types of paintings that are mostly unusual, but if you go to the east part of the world, you will see some similarity in the way we paint faces and the eyes and how round the shape is and how straight the nose is. And this is typical to the Ethiopian church painting. If you go to any church, and every painting has the taste of the face, the round face, eyes big, and noses very straight. So that's typical of the church painting. And the next picture you see is again one of the churches at Lalibela. I thought I would mention about national holidays. One of the things that surprised me is, especially after I come here, because the contrast is big, is the national holidays. We have so many holidays. And these are some of the observations that we do. And as you can see on the left side of the column, you'll see the number of holidays we have for Christianity. And that comes from the culture, and that comes from the history, and that comes from how much people associate with the religion. And then for Islam, we have 3 major holidays, and these are national holidays, and the public observes those holidays. And then we have political holidays. The public holidays that I mentioned, the 2 of them, the Patriot Victory Day and the Victory of Adwa, they are related with the war victories that we have, especially the first one, the Victory of Adwa, is the celebration of the defeat of Italy in Adwa, because that's the first African country that defeated a foreign power in war. So every person in Ethiopia, with every weapon and resource that they have, they went ahead and they fought, and they were able to defeat a modern power. So that is still celebrated, and it's a national holiday. And then we have a holiday for the patriots, because we are very thankful for their contribution across all the years and what they have done for the country. Since most of our calendar comes from the long history of Ethiopian Orthodox Church, if you just randomly see a month, you will see a number of religious holidays. And you will be surprised how many times that religious holidays are observed. These are not national holidays. We don't close a school, but anybody who is free would celebrate these holidays. So for example, if you take the month of September, you will see at least 4 major religious holidays in Orthodox Christianity that the followers would have to go to church, celebrate with something. And this is not like a hard and fast rule, but this is a recommended way of celebrating holidays. And you will find the same kind of holiday expectations almost in every month in the 13 months. The pictures that you see here is Epiphany. And Epiphany is one of the biggest celebration in Ethiopia. Hundreds of people, thousands of people go out every time. And we have the simulation of the Ark of the Covenant, so just a background about the Ark of the Covenant. There is a history that the true Ark of the Covenant is located in Ethiopia, in one of the churches in Ethiopia. So if you go to Ethiopian church, you will find a simulation of the Ark of the Covenant representation to every saint that is represented in each church. So what you see here in the left side of your screen, at least in my left side of the screen, is the priests carrying the simulation of the Ark of the Covenant. And every time in Epiphany, this Ark of the Covenant will be taken out from church and it will be taken to the place designated to celebrate Epiphany, which is on the right side of the screen. And then there will be celebration. People will go out to celebrate with the priests, and there will be a kind of baptism or rebaptism. And then it will be back, the Ark of the Covenant will be back to the church. It's a 2-day celebration for the most part, and in some days it's a 3 days celebration. 1 day is a national observation, so nationally closed holiday. This is a picture of Mescal celebration. Mescal is the founding of the True Cross. And we believe that half of the True Cross that Christ was hanged on is found in Ethiopia. And the founding of the True Cross is celebrated every year in September. And this is how people gather. So on the left side of the screen where all the light is, that's thousands of people gathering and lighting their lights to just show solidarity and celebration. And we have a campfire because fire and smoke was used in order to find the True Cross by Queen Eleni. And then these are the Muslim religious holidays. And again, as I said, we celebrate our holidays in masses. And Eid al-Adha, Ramadan, every holiday is celebrated in such a way according to the religious leaders and religious followers and in however way they like. But this is just to show you how people gather in those holidays. This is the Al-Nagash Mosque, and one of the historical mosques. It's considered as a holy place because the daughter of Muhammad resided in this place, and some of her followers or Muhammad's followers were buried in this mosque. And it's newly built, renovated with the help of the Turkish donors because of its religious value for the Muslim community. And then there we have the Sof Umar cave. It's the longest system of caves in Africa. And mostly it's a prayer place for Muslims. And if you want to go to this place, you just have to have a very good guide because it's just the longest place and you don't want to get lost, but it's one of the beautiful places. There is the Erecha, one of UNESCO recognized non-tangible cultural heritage. This is basically ethnic holiday more than anything, and this is for Oromia people. They come and celebrate their ethnicity and what their ethnicity means to them in a spiritual way. So it doesn't really matter what religion they belong to. They could be Protestants, they could be Orthodox, they could be Muslim, but every year, every Oromo gets together and celebrate and get blessing from their creator.